to talk to you, I think, quite seriously this morning about what I call defining moments. I think for everybody, there are defining moments in their life, at least for people who find Jesus attractive and begin to try and understand something about the Christian faith. There comes a time when there's one of those moments where a decision has to be made. Now, whether that is everyone who ever walks on the face of this earth, that's a big theological question. I don't think I really have the answer to that one. But one of the things I have noticed is that there are a lot of people, there's that time in their life when God speaks to them and they have to make a choice. It's a defining moment. And in Luke chapter 5, he records one of these defining moments for the Apostle Peter. And you remember the situation. Jesus has been addressing a huge crowd. He uses Simon Peter's boat and he preaches from there. He sits down and preaches to the crowd. And afterwards, he gets into conversation with Peter and basically he says to Peter, hey, what I want you to do is I want you to go fishing again. I want you to put your nets down. And Peter's reply is, okay, because you say so, I'll do it. But to be honest, I'm not expecting much from this because we've been fishing all night and it's not been one of those good nights for fishing. So I'm going to try and pick it up here in Luke. And in chapter 5 and verse 5, it says, Simon answered, Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything. But because you say so, I will let down the nets. When they'd done so, they caught such a large number of fish, and their nets began to break. So they signalled to their partners in the other boat to come and help them. And they came and filled both boats, so that they began to sink. When Simon Peter saw this, he fell at Jesus' knees and said, Go away from me, Lord, I'm a sinful man. That's a defining moment for Peter, because Jesus then goes on to say to him, Simon, leave these nets and come follow me, and I will make you a fisher of men. Simon's response to the miracle that he witnessed was basically, hey, you don't want anything to do with me. I'm just not the sort of person that you want hanging around with you. But Jesus responded to him with grace and with love and with mercy. And in that moment, Simon had to make a decision. And he made the right decision. He left those nets and his partnership in that boat, and he followed Jesus. Now we know there are other defining moments, and that's always true for all of us. But nevertheless, he made the right choice. One of the things that I find most sad about the days we're living in is I keep getting phone calls, and it's basically about people that I knew. Some of them I've known for many years, or knew many years ago but not been in touch for a while, who had died because of this virus. Some of them have been Christian friends, and whilst it's sad, I know they're with the Lord, because in their first defining moment with Jesus, they received salvation as a free gift from him. But I had a phone call a couple of weeks ago about a guy a bit younger than me, in his early 70s, been an outstanding athlete. I'd played sport with him, a number of sports over the years, sometimes on the same team, sometimes competing. But a guy who was always good company, and nice to be with. And I'd heard that this pandemic had taken him. And what made me very, very sad was the fact that I don't believe that he had ever said yes to Jesus in any defining moment that he had, and that means a lost eternity, and that's very sobering. And sometimes when people die, there's a lot of sentiment spoken. People say, oh, that's such a peaceful time in his death. But folks, I want to say this morning, that the biblical view of death, it is the last enemy. And that is why Jesus went to the cross, that he might save us from the curse and the penalty of death as we believe in him. And it's so important that we understand that this is a time when people are asking some serious questions. I want to tell you a story about a friend of mine. His name is Ron, and he died just under a year ago now. We'd known one another since we were in our 20s. We used to play soccer together, play tennis together. We went on holiday as families together, and we were really great mates. His wife was an international swimmer, so very much sport was our thing. And then in 1972, Sue and I moved up to Biggin Hill, and Ron and his wife came along. They were always churchgoers, but we were never really sure where they were in terms of faith, so we were glad when they started to come up in those good charismatic days. Sadly, they were put off, they didn't want it, and they never went to church after that. And sadly, some years later, Ron's wife Irene was to die, and the day of her death, God spoke to me to telephone Ron. I hadn't spoken to him for probably 20 years or more. And when I phoned, I just said, Ron, this is Ray, voice from the past. And he said, I'm amazed. He said, my Irene is dying at this very moment. She'll die tonight. And he said, I haven't prayed for years. I've just asked God, send someone to me. And then you phoned. And I was able to go, and I was able to be with her at her deathbed. And I do believe she died, knowing the forgiveness and grace of the Lord Jesus. And then Ron went through about another 10 years after that. It was difficult for him. He was grieving. And then some years later, he met a lovely Christian lady called Jenny. She's still good friends of ours, and I had the privilege of marrying them. Ron still never really had one of those defining moments, or if he did, didn't seem that he ever said yes. And then we went away to South Africa, Sue and I was speaking at a conference on Sue's farm. It was 15 young leaders from around the world that were there, and because Ron and Jenny wanted to come to South Africa, they came with us, and Ron came to me at the conference. And the guys began to realise this is not a church leader like they were. And they began to realise after a while, wow, we're not even sure this guy's a Christian. But during that time, there was one of those moments where Ron responded to the gospel and came into a wonderful experience with Jesus. And all changed from that time on. I was with Ron right up to his death. And it was so interesting. He kept saying to the doctors, are you Christians? His son was there the day before he died. He said to his son, listen to this guy. He'll tell you all about Jesus, and I want you to have my Bible. And just before his death, he was lucid, and he just said, am I there yet? Is it going to be soon? He was so longing to meet with Jesus. And this is how I want to end it this morning, because my 10 minutes is up. Folks, this is a time to be cultivating this sensitivity to the promptings of the Holy Spirit, because you and I, we have the answers to the questions that people are today asking. And so if God prompts you, if someone comes on your mind, then a phone call, an email, get in touch in any way you can, and then pray. And then pray. Make that phone call, and you'll be amazed. It'll be like me. You'll be amazed that, as Ron said, hey, this is just the moment I need someone. I've made 3 such phone calls already this week, and I can testify that each one of them was in the timing of God. So this is a time to cultivate our sensitivity to the promptings of the Spirit. He's a lot more willing than you are. Don't put yourself down. You're a child of God. I'll leave you with this. Yonggi Cho, the leader in South Korea, who had a church of over 1 million and planted many other churches, when he was asked the secret, he said, prayer, but every day I just say to Jesus, I'm only your servant. Show me what you want me to do today. Folks, That's how he wants us to live. I hope that's been a blessing to you, and that you begin more and more to be sensitive to these promptings of the Holy Spirit. Look forward to seeing you again soon.